All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this very special webinar and discussion. We're so glad that you're here. I'm Allison Foss, and I'm the Executive Director of the Myasthenia Gravis Association. We would like to give a special thank you to argenx for their partnership in making tonight's webinar possible. About 18 months or so, Brian Bosch came to me with an idea. He had an idea of bringing together individuals living with myasthenia gravis, as well as those identifying in the LGBTQ plus community for a virtual support group. And that's when our MG Pride support group was born. Not only is Brian living with myasthenia gravis, as well as several other autoimmune conditions, he so graciously hosts our virtual support group every other month, being an ear to those near and far. Brian is going to be our moderator for tonight's session. Brian, take it away.
Thank you very much, Allison and argenx. So, like Allison said, my name is Brian Bosch, and we're going to get started with some questions. So if Raymond and Meredith, if you could please introduce yourselves.
Meredith, go first.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. My name is Meredith Greenfield. I have she, her, hers pronouns, and I have had, I was diagnosed with myasthenia in 2009, and I identify as a queer woman. And over to you, Raymond.
I am Raymond Clayton. I was diagnosed it'll be 2 years coming up in December. So I can't do math these days. Yeah, I am a gay man. I have been pretty much just living it day to day since the diagnosis. Dealing with the treatments and just doing what I have to do.
Yep, that's exactly right. And Jesse, if you could please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jessie Greenfield. My pronouns are they, them. And I am Meredith's spouse. I identify as queer or trans or non-binary. We've been together. We've been married for 4 years and been together about 7.
Yay. Wonderful. Very wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for introducing yourselves. Now, I would like for you to share, whoever wants to go first, either one of you, Meredith or Raymond, about your journey to diagnosis.
You want me to go?
Whichever one. Raymond? Meredith?
Okay. Okay, I'll go.
Okay.
Okay, so in 2009, I was actually really lucky how quickly I got diagnosed. I know a lot of people struggle going to multiple doctors and understanding their symptoms and even picking it out, and knowing what doctor to go to is hard. So it was summertime. In hindsight, that kind of makes sense now because my symptoms are a lot worse in the summer. Yeah. When it's real hot. I was at a baseball game, and my ex-husband at the time, I was in college, actually. We weren't married. So we were just like at an event outside, and he was just like, what is going on what's wrong with your eye? And I was like, I don't know. And I kind of like rubbed it, and I was like, maybe I'm just tired. I don't know. I'll get a good night's sleep when we get back from this baseball game. And it's still doing it. It's just drooping, and so I went to an ophthalmologist, and fairly quickly got in, and they said, you need to go to a neurologist. That looks like myasthenia gravis. And wow. I made an appointment, and I was living in Columbia, Missouri at the time, going to Mizzou. And I was really lucky to get a really great doctor named Justin Malone. And he studied in one of the universities in St. Louis under one of like some expert doctor for myasthenia gravis. So he was familiar with it. And he jokes, we became very close, had a really good relationship, my doctor and I. And he, through the journey, he would joke and say, I thought you would be an easy case. I thought, you know, we would do some prednisone, some Mestinon, no easy case for you. And nothing was working. Really, really struggled, went on prednisone right after I was diagnosed and struggled a lot with those side effects. I tried, you know, different treatment options for 6 years with this same doctor, and then got into a clinical trial for Solaris. And they won't confirm or deny whether or not I had the drug, but I know I got the drug because it worked right away. And I had the infusion every 2 weeks ever since 2015. And then the drug got approved by the FDA, and I continue to take it every 2 weeks at my job. My nurse just comes to my job in my office. I shut the door. He accesses my port, and I just sit there and work and chit chat with my nurse for about an hour. And then I go about my day. It wasn't always that easy. It was a lot. It was a really, really awful journey to get there, to get here. But yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well.
Well, thank you. And Raymond?
Oh, for me, I've been HIV positive for 41 years. And so along with that comes, for me, you know, several neurological issues. Just over the years, neuropathy and everything that goes along with that. So when I started having symptoms, I didn't think anything of it. At the time, my mother was very ill and she was passing away. And I thought, you know, everything that was happening with that, I thought it was stress, and COVID was happening. I was having to put her into a nursing home, and, you know, it was just all happening at once. And the symptoms were starting to happen. And I was just like, okay, it's just stress. So I never thought anything of it until I started having double vision. And then I was like, something's not quite right here. So I made an appointment to see my ophthalmologist, and she was like, let's have you see, you know, a neuro-ophthalmologist. Because the neurologist that I had been seeing all along had just said, you know, all these symptoms you've been talking about is old age. At the time, I was like 55 to 57 years old. And I'm sorry, but I don't know about any of the rest of you, but I don't consider that old age. You know, if he considers that old age, I feel sorry for him because he's dying soon.
Oh my God.
So I was on the hunt for a new neurologist anyhow. But in the meantime, I went and saw this neuro-ophthalmologist, and they did the blood work for myasthenia, which actually my neurologist at the time had done. It came back negative. So nobody went and did anything more. I had actually 2 doctors that did it. But the neuro-ophthalmologist said, we're going to take this one step further. and he ordered a single fiber EMG, and that came back positive. And so he immediately started me on Mestinon. I had some good reaction to Mestinon, but not, it wasn't the miracle drug,
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I had started seeing a new neurologist who happened to be a specialist in myasthenia gravis, unbeknownst to me. So he started me doing IVIG, and that helped tremendously. And it was just a matter of fine-tuning the frequency and the dosage to the point now where I do it every 3 weeks and the dosage is fine. And so that's where I'm at with it. It wasn't any real big journey. It wasn't this 10-year, 20-year long drawn out, for somebody who's seronegative, it was actually a relatively quick diagnosis and, to treatment type thing. I've known people, that have had a 10-year journey just trying to find the right treatment. And, here I got like in 3 months, just getting everything tweaked to where it helps, and I still have symptoms. I still get the double vision every now and then. I still have trouble with swallowing every now and then, but it's livable. I learn when I can do things, when I can't do things. I stay out of the heat. I stay out of the extreme cold. I plan my day accordingly, that type of thing.
Yeah. And we can all relate to that.
Yeah. Everybody can.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll ask Meredith first. How did being a part of a marginalized community prepare you for diagnosis?
I have a unique journey in that. I did not identify as LGBTQ or queer when I was diagnosed. So the only marginalized community I was a part of at that time was being a young woman. So and being in the city that I was in Columbia with experts at my fingertips, I was very lucky to have my doctor. I did experience a different scenario when I moved to Alabama after diagnosis about like 3 years later. And I wanted to get established with a new neurologist just to be safe. And that doctor did not believe that I had myasthenia gravis, wanted me to do all the tests over, I gave my medical records to this man. I had to fight insurance for the repeat tests and all of this. And I said, you know what, just forget it. Columbia is not that far from Alabama. I will fly to go see my original neurologist. And that's what I did. I received my treatments. I flew back weekly at one point to get Rituxan infusions. And it was worth it to go to a doctor that believed me. And the one that diagnosed me, I was just like, you know what, forget it. I'll just travel. I'll go find my safe doctor.
Yeah.
So that's my story about it.
That still sounds like it was a struggle, though. Oh my gosh.
Wow. I know people from here.
What's that, Raymond? Go ahead.
I know people from here who used to travel to Phoenix to see their HIV doctor.
Wow.
Because there were so few doctors here. And the one doctor here, or one of the few doctors here, ended up moving to Phoenix.
Oh my God.
They would go to Phoenix to see him.
Wow.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for educating us.
It's, I mean, that's just, medicine.
I mean, hopefully it's different now.
Oh, yeah, it's very
Okay.
different now. Yeah.
Good. Good. And what about you? How did being a part of a marginalized community prepare you for diagnosis?
Well, for me, I mean, I've been gay and out since I was born. So just being that, I don't know. I never really thought of myself as being part of a marginalized community because it's all I've ever known, you know. I didn't realize I was part of a marginalized community until somebody told me, you
Yeah.
know. But being HIV positive for so many years and then moving here and taking care of my mom for the last 12 or well, the last 9 years of her life taught me that I had to advocate for myself, that nobody else was going to do it. So when I start running into roadblocks with doctors or nurses, I just mow over them. It's like, no, you just don't understand. This is not how this is going to go, you know.
Yeah.
And if a doctor gets to the point where they don't listen to me, I find a new doctor. It's as simple as that, you know. So I guess in that respect, being part of, the HIV positive community for so many years really taught me how to take care of my own advocacy for myself, and make sure that I'm doing what I need to do medically to just be there for myself.
Okay, I don't know. Either one of you can answer this. You can just blurt it out. Doesn't matter to me. So how how has dating been impacted?
Huh.
I wouldn't
We
know.
don't date.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
I guess it does.
Yeah. I haven't been on a date in 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I haven't been on a date in 17. That's how long Ryan and I have been together.
I have no desire
Yeah.
to date. I just don't want to go through the whole explanation every single time. This is what, it's just the
Yeah. It can add like just being around like or in that atmosphere, I'm assuming can just add more stress and
yeah. It's like coming out. It's like coming out every single time you go on a date. It's like, how do you can't, how do you put it in your bio on an app?
Exactly. Yeah.
When
I've got
nobody
autoimmune
understands it.
disease.
Pardon?
Well, see, I've got an autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
And then
I've got 4 autoimmune diseases.
that's when they swiftly move away from you.
Exactly. It's like, well, next, swipe right. Or whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I would say I don't date because I'm married. But
Good for you.
but I can sort of imagine why that would be uncomfortable in your points with the dating app. I wasn't dating when dating apps I dated before dating apps existed. So I've never done that, but I do, and I did struggle a lot with photos of myself because of eyelid droop.
Mhm.
I struggle with conversations. I struggle with eye contact. And I think that if I tried to date, I would feel like you mentioned, Raymond, that I needed to say it right away and say, well, if I'm not giving eye contact, it's because I'm self-conscious about my eyelid, or,
Right.
it just would seem really, really complicated right away. And I would feel very self-conscious about it. It's like, I think people refer to myasthenia as like, invisible, or,
Yeah.
what do they say?
Yeah.
It's like,
Snowflake
well, you look
disease.
Snowflake
fine, you look
disease.
like you're,
Oh yeah, an invisible illness or something.
yeah. But they don't understand that, like, the eye droop and the double vision and the fatigue and the muscles and how hard it is in the heat. And
Mhm.
I would feel like I am complicated, and
Mhm.
that seems overwhelming to explain in the first place. So I thank the Lord. Thank Jesse, thank God I'm not single and
Yeah.
don't have to date.
Well,
Well,
it's
I
like
mean,
going back to the days, when, okay, do I disclose that I'm HIV positive on the first date, or do I wait until we're going to have sex? Or, it was like, when do you disclose these things?
yeah.
Do, and
Raymond, wasn't there even a time where it was considered uh, a criminal offense to not disclose that?
in 28 states, it still is,
Is it
including
really?
Missouri.
Wow.
You can be criminally, you can actually be jailed
Yeah.
for it in
Yep.
28 states.
And what's crazy is that I think most of us today, if we were or are HIV positive, we want to disclose it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not something we want to hide.
And even now, with the medication and with
Mhm.
PrEP and all that, I don't know.
We've come leaps and bounds from the 90s, 80s,
Oh,
70s.
yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
It's amazing. There's still all this stigma. And I think there's stigma around any sort of disease that people don't understand.
Yes.
And there's always going to be that. But the more we put ourselves out there to, like in forums like this, or even going out to conferences and things like that, participating in panels or speaking at conferences or whatever, or even just as simple as talking to friends and,
Yes.
you know, trying to get them to understand, and maybe they then talk to their friends, that type of thing. But yeah, that's a lot different than dating and putting yourself out there
Yeah.
romantically and,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Yeah.
trying to make that kind of a connection.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, a lot of us just struggle with family connections. So,
But I divorced.
oh, yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the next few questions are for Jesse. Jesse, how did you learn about Meredith's diagnosis?
Yeah, Meredith and I started off as friends and coworkers, and we worked in close quarters, and so I we get to know each other, hang out, and I would hear her talking about myasthenia. And the first few times I thought she was saying my asthenia. And so I was like, oh, that's something's asthenia. Okay. And so I didn't understand, but so obviously I had never heard about it. I didn't know anything about it. But I, with just some time, I like quickly learned that it was an invisible disorder, and that she was participating in the clinical trial when she met me. And so she was stable, pretty much stable, and was on a good route and a good journey of what that was looking like. The trial was going really well. But I did learn quickly how much it impacted her and how the journey she went just to get to the point of being in a clinical trial. It was a whole ordeal.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. From what I've heard, I mean, I've tried to get into a clinical trial, and it's long drawn out.
Yeah.
You're nervous, you're frustrated, all
Yeah.
kinds of things. So, how has being a care partner impacted your journey?
Well,
I mean,
I
not even just your journey specifically, like your journey and her journey, or your journey together.
sure. Um, I'll notice sometimes her symptoms before she might, as far as like her eye. Um, and that usually happens when she's stressed or tired towards the end of the day. Or if, maybe we're arguing or whatnot, and I'll know I need to back off because she's stressed. So it's a sign of that. But I'd say as far as like impact, we recently had to close the door to the idea of having children, because I knew that if she had MG, that if we were to get pregnant, it would have to be me. And so this was before I had come out and identified as trans or even non-binary, really. So I did try to get pregnant with IUI, and it never ended up working. I was diagnosed with a follicular thyroid carcinoma, and took 2 years to get to be okay, to even be safe enough to get pregnant. And by then I was had already accepted that it was something I just couldn't get myself to really do. It was very difficult. Even the procedures and things I was doing prior, like it was really difficult and hard on me. And so I just had to admit to myself that I wasn't in a place to be able to do that, which was pretty tough. And I ended up starting hormone replacement therapy. And so Meredith went ahead and tried to see what would it be like if she got off her infusion, her medicine, just to see if, how she would be able to do without it, to see if she could get pregnant. And it only took a few extra weeks to really for her to even notice, like they came right back. And so we learned that it wasn't worth quality of life
Mhm.
for something that may not even work anyway.
Yeah, I understand.
So that's definitely had a huge impact on our journey together as a couple and separately. And as far as being a care partner, she's really helped. It's helped me learn how to be less of a selfish person. Because I am reminded that, everyone does have invisible battles, invisible disorders. And it's, you know, our behaviors impact people more than we can see. And so it's really taught me just to be mindful of that everyone's battling something.
Well, we all either wish or are glad or hope for a partner like that, like you. So that's wonderful. It's very wonderful. How did you feel, or how do you feel you advocate on Meredith's behalf?
Well, honestly, I mean, Meredith is an incredible advocate for herself. I would go as far to say she's taught me how to advocate for myself. And that's just a personality thing that she's just always been able to do that so eloquently and gracefully. So I've learned from her. But I'd say from learning from that though, I've tried to take away like anytime like there's a request or a situation where physical labor is needed, I do
Mhm.
try to make sure that she knows she's not obligated to do anything, or I do try to remove the pressure of her having to feel like she does have to, or, volunteer myself to ensure that she doesn't have to do it, things like that. So she's not even having to have to explain it or and
Mhm.
whatnot is, and I mean, I fail, of course, at times, but I do try to keep that in mind and do that.
Yeah. And I'm sure Meredith, I'm sure over the course of your MG journey, you've had to like really hone in and become more detailed and learn more advocacy tips for yourself as well. So, and that's why it's fine tuned, because I think we've all had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've got stories, but this is only an hour. Oh, gosh. Okay, so do you feel that you have to advocate differently in appointments because of your lifestyles? I mean, Jesse, you too. Do you feel you have to advocate differently in your appointments?
Depends on the doctor.
Good answer.
It really does. There have been so many changes to personnel over at St. Luke's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I first started at St. Luke with St. Luke's, I had some of the most amazing doctors, and little by little, they've all left.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got all these doctors that I no longer know, and I don't know that I feel comfortable with them. And especially in light of everything that's happening politically now, it used to be that I never had, the little questionnaire where they ask you to, um, do you identify as blah, 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 And I would always, yeah, I identify as gay. I don't do that anymore. I say I prefer not to say.
Good.
I never used to say that. I was always one that said, yeah, I'm gay. Not anymore. Not here.
You need to start checking every box now.
Yeah, everything. Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because the way political climate is right now, you just never know. Every single hospital here is a religious affiliated hospital, except for HCA, which is a crappy. We won't get into that though.
Now let's not get
But
into that.
it just, you never know what's going to happen. That's part of your record.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. And if they decide they don't want to treat homosexuals,
Yeah.
they can go back through your records and just say, oh, look, he's gone.
Yep.
So I'm
And
very
I wanted to make a point on this.
cautious.
I wanted to make a point on that too. Because I had a couple other questions that I was thinking about if we didn't have, or if we had leftover time. And we'll come back to the other question for both of you to answer too, okay? The question I had was, have you ever been told no, let me go back. Have you ever been turned away from a medical care facility because of your sexual orientation? Because I have.
I have not yet.
That's good.
Yeah, not yet. Most of which because I've lived in California and Hawaii all my
Oh,
life,
okay.
Until moving here.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough that, I found St. Luke's, and St. Luke's was, for the most part, all the doctors there were very open, honest, and, great. And now they're just, I don't know, I just don't feel as comfortable around the physicians at St. Luke's as I used to. So yeah, I'm just very guarded.
Yeah, I understand that. Understandably so. And I'm going to go back to this next question, or the last question for Meredith and Jesse now. Do you feel, either one of you, that you have to advocate differently at appointments because of your lifestyle?
No, I don't. I do recognize my privilege. I am a young white woman that may, if Jesse's not right next to me, I may appear, if I'm not filling out a form, people usually assume where's your husband? Blah, 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 or so that's awkward.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say my spouse and say they, and usually just not explain it because I'm just like, oh, never mind, and that makes me feel crappy because
Yeah.
it shouldn't be something that I need anywhere in my life, especially like a doctor's office. I shouldn't need to be like, well, should I explain that I'm not married to a man? Or should I just not go into it? Like, so I just usually don't go into it because I don't know what they're gonna think. I don't know what they're gonna like. You really do never know if you're safe or if somebody is really against that. So
Exactly.
maybe I defer to letting them assume I have a husband because it's safer or less awkward. But
Well,
I don't like that feeling of needing to hide it or feeling like I'm lying.
yeah.
But it's kind of like something that happens to just go along, and
Mhm.
it's
Just
not
not
worth
to make
it. It's not
waves and not.
somebody I know. It's just somebody in
Right.
passing. But that's really scary to think about, identifying on paperwork and then being denied. And um
Yes.
it's scary, but no, I haven't had to I haven't had that happen to me.
Okay. Okay. So, the other, what you were just talking about, just kind of going along and not giving any more information than just my partner or my spouse.
Yeah.
So the thing that kind of scares me about that is what happens when there's a very serious health emergency and you have to be like, this is my spouse, this is my significant other, my wife, husband, and that's really what scares me too, is what are they gonna do? Not let them in the room,
Mm-hmm.
not let them by me, not let them near me, you know? I mean, that's something else we have to worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, usually it's that example that I just gave. It's because like I'm alone and
Yeah,
nobody, I'm at the appointment by myself. So I don't need to say, but if Jesse's right there, they could very easily say
well,
like,
true.
why, who is that? And I would be like, that's my spouse, that's my emergency contact, and then it's a different story. So it's like, just because this stuff hasn't happened,
Yeah,
because maybe people assume I'm straight, doesn't mean that it couldn't be in a very it just depends
it does. Yeah,
where you are and who is accepting and how accepting an organization or whatever service being provided is as a whole. And I live in a very the agency both of us work for is HRC accredited, so we are safe at work, we are safe at with the people we surround ourselves with, we are safe at church. And
oh,
so
okay.
like and we live in Kansas City, Missouri, so like I am very lucky to not have to be faced with open discrimination.
And
regularly,
hatred
and I'm reminded of these awful scenarios that very well could happen.
yeah. Jesse, do you feel that you have to advocate differently?
Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely get the, like needing to do like a pregnancy test, or, and I can, they will insist, and I'm like, no, but really, I don't need to do it. And, I'll usually just go along to get along and just do it. Or, they'll ask questions about, or if they do try to say my, I'll say my pronouns, and then they'll just turn around and say it again without correcting themselves. And so I'm like, I don't know if they heard me, but it's definitely something I think about, especially since going through my journey of the cancer diagnosis. I've had to go to a lot of doctors, and it, I don't know if it was just the combination of doctors I had, but I had to continuously show them my blood work or my results and say, but it says right here, and then I'd have to advocate. And then I'd finally got the diagnosis. It took forever.
Wow.
It took a lot of me saying, will you please just do this? And so it's, but like I said, I don't know. I can't really say if it's because I'm queer or not.
Yeah.
I don't have any evidence.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
I've certainly had to advocate for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other unfortunate thing, is that you go into these appointments and they find out that you're part of the queer community, and you don't know whether or not under their tongue they're like derogatory statements, or if they're treating you differently because they just aren't open about it at your doctor's appointments. So yeah. And then there are some that are
Yeah.
not, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some that are to your face. So oh my goodness. Okay, so do any of you have any parting words? And appropriate ones, Raymond.
Who, me?
Yes.
I think, for me, it's just learn to be kind to yourself. And don't be afraid to tell people no.
Yeah.
I've always been somebody that just never said no to anybody. And I had to learn how to say no. And that took a lot. But now I say no to just about everything.
Before the question even finishes, I'm like, no.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I would say that boundaries are really important with your self-care and mental health.
Yes.
There are, it is similar to overexerting your body, in that if you overexert yourself with stress, you're gonna have symptoms just
Mhm.
as much as you would if you did something physically with or hurting your back. Or
Yeah.
if I am stressed and don't eat and don't drink my water and plan my meals, and then I don't sleep well, I can't function. And so it is about saying no and actually just prioritizing yourself, slowing down, listening to your body. I remember when I'll also say, this reminds me of when I was still experimenting with the doses and the treatments, all those 6 years. I would, you go to the doctor and it's a different time of day.
Yeah.
You are under a different stress level as you were. They see you every what, 6 months or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're particularly stressed that day, or you're sick, or you didn't sleep well, maybe your eyes are drooping more, maybe your arms are weaker. So I would take, my eye would look different no matter when I happen to go in. So this is before, I don't even know if I had a smartphone at the time, but I was taking I would take a picture of myself trying to make a neutral face, and I would write down the day and the time, and I would do it at different points in the day, and I would bring those pictures in with me to the doctor, so that they could, just getting creative about how you track your symptoms, how you think about what was going on in your life when you had flare-ups. Were you stressed? Were you really taking care of your body? And bringing all of that to your doctor and being like, this isn't working at all, or I think it is. You have to know.
Yeah.
And I would sit in the doctor that diagnosed me. I brought my boyfriend, I brought my parents. We would sit in there with notebooks and sit in there for an hour and ask questions. And I had a good doctor that would listen to me, and he would talk through my depression, about this very scary diagnosis and life. I was 24 years old. My whole life in front of me, and I'm like, what is this? What do I have to do for the rest of my life? So like, if you're not being able to talk to your doctor about all these questions and feel comfortable, go to a different doctor and
Right.
track your symptoms and take care of yourself and see if that makes a difference, because the drugs are one thing, but self-care definitely impacts myasthenia gravis.
Yes.
And so does
Mhm.
food and
Yeah.
water and physical activity, walking. Like, if people are just telling you to exercise, you gotta say, well, I have myasthenia gravis, I gotta exercise differently. Just pay attention to all of that. And if you are not to the place where you've found your treatment that works, just keep trying. There are different treatments, and each dose is so different, and each patient is so different. And like, you can get to a place where you feel better. It just might take time.
Yeah. Never give up.
Exactly. Yeah. Never give up. Yeah. Jesse, do you have any?
Yeah, I would just piggyback that, that the self-care that Meredith was talking about is it's just as important, if not more, to be doing it proactively and preventatively, not just when you need it. And to not feel guilty for the amount of self-care you need.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Don't
Yeah.
feel guilty about self-care. That
never.
is, yeah, especially like Meredith and Jesse, you were both saying, and well, even and Raymond, no, I have to take care of me.
Yep.
Yeah, I really think we could all use a little more love, a little more patience, a little more acceptance in this world, more understanding, more help for and from each other. We really, I mean, I feel like we've turned into extremely, and with myasthenia gravis and rare diseases, or even autoimmune diseases, or just diseases in general, I mean, we become extremely selfish, and we focus a lot on ourselves, and we're supposed to, we have to be able to know when something's completely wrong. But I think there's also a fine line between being selfish and being able to put yourself out there and help take care of others too. And I think we need to like find a happy medium in that area too, because helping others also gives us a sense of self-worth and accomplishment, and like I was saying, love, understanding. So I think that fills our hearts and our souls too.
Right.
But with MG, we really have to watch like how much physical exertion we put out there too. So
Finding the balance.
yes, yes,
It's a daily,
it really is.
daily battle.
Daily,
Finding that
hourly.
balance.
Yeah, definitely. Any other words? Any other thoughts?
Mm,
No? Okay.
no.
So I had one question. I know, well, another question. I had several questions, but I had one more question that I thought of while we were sitting here. So, have any of you been told that you cannot donate blood or plasma because you are queer?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not the only one.
Gay men have been barred from donating blood for 40 years.
Yep.
And it's just recently that they've allowed gay men to start donating blood as long as they have not had sex in the last year.
In the last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even though they test the blood supply.
Yep. And
I
they
don't
feel,
get it.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't get it. But yeah.
Sorry, it was a question that just randomly popped in my head, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a good question."
It's the
Um,
same with organ donation.
yeah, it really is.
You know, because I'm HIV positive, I can't donate my organs,
Well,
even unless I do a targeted donation to another HIV positive person.
yeah, that makes sense. Because I was told that like even people with autoimmune diseases or like HIV, stuff like that, aren't allowed to give blood. They aren't allowed to donate organs, anything like that. Like I wanted to donate organs and I wanted to put it on my license. Couldn't do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Wouldn't let me.
Oh.
Because of illnesses. Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
might
I
be,
figure
I
I'll
might have
leave
told
my
you,
brain to science.
I guess you're gonna be in the museum and like paper thin cuts, and we're gonna.
Yeah, yeah. I can make wallpaper out of it or
Oh,
something.
nice. That would be. Oh my goodness. Let's see. I don't even think. No.
Brian, the chat is open if anyone wants to, anyone that's watching wants to ask questions.
Okay. Q&A. If not, we can talk for a few more minutes. I don't mind talking. Well, while we wait, in case anybody has questions, do any of you have questions? Jesse, Meredith, or Raymond?
No.
No. That's wow. I'm shocked, Raymond.
Why?
I just want to take a moment and say that I am grateful and so proud of each one of you for offering up your expertise and time this evening to bring education and awareness to an extremely important topic. So I know this is private information and we really appreciate you putting it out there. So thank you. It looks like we do have a question in the chat.
See here. Oh, signing off. Great discussion. Thanks for sharing. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, that's so nice.
I'm just glad Allison and the MGA helped us start this. I really am.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it even though we aren't like a huge group, it helps. So it helps all of us. It helps me a lot.
Well, I enjoy it.
And we forgot to say at the beginning, the next Pride group will meet in August. So Brian will finesse a date and then we'll get that out there to everybody for anyone who might want to join.
Yay. Exciting.
Yeah, thank you, Brian, for doing that. I was so
Well,
excited.
if there aren't any more questions, we can or feedback or looks like Brian.
Yeah, there's a question. There's a Zach put, thank you so much for being here today. Seronegative MG is even harder to navigate with anti-queer prejudice. How do you tell when LGBTQ plus status is a factor in negative experiences that aren't over. Is this, no, that's somebody else. That aren't overt.
Overt.
Oh, okay. I didn't see the T. Everything's a little blurry to me. Not overtly LGBTQ negative. So hard to navigate with that. Factor in negative experiences and overtly LGBT. Oh, so how is the how do you tell when our like queer status is a factor in negative experiences that aren't overtly like we were just discussing, like going into a doctor and like maybe the doctor's like saying something under the breath, but not to your face and stuff like that. I'm hoping that's kind of like the question that you're asking.
Yeah, that's the part. It's sneaky.
Yeah.
It's more in your face, I think, for the two gay men on this call who are telling us these experiences where people are very confrontationally discriminating.
I've got an answer for this. So the way I can tell is when I go to see a new doctor or provider, the very first question I get is what is my HIV/AIDS status or my STD/STI status? That's after they find out that I am a gay man.
Yep.
And that says to me that my status
is more important.
Yes, my status is more important. That appointment is started off as a negative appointment.
Yeah, because they've never asked me that.
Yeah.
And
I
why?
mean, I was even talking to my little brother today about that. He was like, I have never been asked that at any appointment. So
That's a
I'd say as someone who's lived like as a femme cisgendered woman at one point in their life, and then now who's you know, obviously queer to the eye, that I can't, it is a vibe, it is an energy, it's a tone, it's I can definitely feel that the apprehension, the fear, the uncomfortableness, that I get it a lot more now that I present as non-binary. I wouldn't be able to pinpoint it exactly, but I just know it happens more.
so Jesse, what you're saying is that from your day-to-day experiences with just ordinary people and then going into appointment, the atmosphere and the conversation is completely different, and you could tell like in your appointment the doctor's more hesitant and more afraid of discussing or even
Yeah, just like it comes off like I feel disregarded, or that I'm not important, or that my, you know, I definitely have felt that more than I did before.
Yeah. And then Gwen says, how can we continue to support and continue this conversation and support all of our LGBTQ plus community members? Thank you for being here and sharing your stories. Does anybody want to talk on how they can continue to support and continue the conversation and support the LGBTQ community?
Well, I think one of the ways is just to continue what's the word? Joining us every couple of months, you know, that we have this forum. It's, for me, it's a good time just to get together and talk about issues that we've had or stuff that's been going on for the last 2 months, you know. It's informal. We can just shoot the shit. If nothing is coming up, if you know, we talk about everything really. You know, so it's a great forum to be involved in. And I think as it grows, it's going to become even better.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I
right
agree.
now it's small, but it can be mighty.
Yeah, definitely.
and I would say, I would add really quick, I don't know how that how Gwen you identify, or if just the generally how to support making queer people feel comfortable. One way is to signal to people that you are an ally by asking their pronouns or presenting what your pronouns are, because for us that signals that you're a safe person and that you see us and that you care how we are addressed. And it's really simple and quick, and you can do it in passing to a stranger. You can do it with your loved ones. You can talk about what pronouns mean, why they're important, educate somebody in a quick conversation, and it really makes us as a queer community feel safer. Thank you for asking.
Yes, thank you.
Brian, I think those were all the questions.
Yep.
So
That's it.
we can wrap it up. Once again, you guys, thank you so much for sharing and giving us a little insight into your very own personal lives. Brian, thank you so much for moderating this evening. And argenx, thank you for sponsoring our webinar this evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we hope to see you all soon. Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
You.
Bye.
Bye.